Hello everyone, patching into today's video. So this is quite an interesting little video that we got here for you. We're going to explain what goes into the GavsWeatherVids Winter Forecast for 2020. So I'm going to talk you through the methodology, I'm going to talk you through the things that we're going to be looking at through this season of winter updates that's going to begin next Sunday, a week today, Sunday the 6th of September. I'll talk you through all of those things that go into the winter forecast, what we look at through winter updates. We'll have a look at some long range models as well at the end of the video, have a little sneaky peek at a few longer range models for this winter, and yeah, just generally have a bit of fun now that the autumn forecast is released. So what did you think about the autumn forecast? Let me know in the live stream coming up later on today. So that'll be from 6 o'clock, by the way. So yeah, we've released the autumn forecast, that's out of the way, and now the long range bandwagon rolls on as it always does, and we roll on from autumn to winter. So here we go again, another season of winter updates coming up. Just say that if you're enjoying the content on the channel at the moment, please do give us a like. Don't forget to subscribe and make sure you tell your friends about GavsWeatherVids as well. Let us know in the comments what you think. Right then, so I'm going to take you through the methodology. Now, of course, the first thing that is already in the bag is the Nao forecast. So that's based on May sea surface temperature anomalies in the North Atlantic in the month of May, as I say. And we released that back on, I think it's on the 14th of June. And so that's in the bag. So just a quick recap of what was going for. They had a very warm tropical Atlantic through the month of May. Warm and average sea surface temperature anomalies through the tropical Atlantic. Colder around the East Coast American up towards Newfoundland. And then just not quite right for negative NAO. For a negative NAO forecast, you would really want this area to be warmer. It was right for here, cool there, and it was right for here, warm there. So we got 2 out of 3, but we hadn't quite got it right on this view anyway. Hadn't quite got it right south of Greenland. So our NAO forecast for winter 2020-21 was for a neutral NAO with a margin of error that could take that into weekly positive or weekly negative. We thought probably, if anything, because the tropical Atlantic is warm, probably, if anything, more towards the weekly negative side. Neutral to weekly negative, more likely than neutral to weekly positive. So that was the NAO forecast already in the bag. That's always like the starting point. You know, every journey has a first step. Every saga has a beginning. Our first step to the coming winter is always the NAO forecast. So we have that one in the bag. But of course, we're going to be looking more widely up the oceans now through this season of winter updates. We're going to be specifically looking at 4 areas. So we're going to look at the Enso region just here. We're going to look at the Enso region just there. We're on our way to a landing. In fact, we have got a landing year signature. This winter looks very likely to be a landing year winter. We think it's probably going to be a weak landing year winter, although borderline moderate can't be ruled out. So be keeping a very close eye on that. We'll be monitoring it week by week, see how strong this landing year gets. And of course, through reanalysis, we will attempt to answer the question of what does landing year mean for, or what could landing year mean for our winters. Or our winter. We're going to look at, keep a very close eye on sea surface temperature anomalies in the northeast and Pacific Ocean as well. It's really warm up there again at the moment, especially around here. That's something we've had quite a bit of through this past sort of decade, or sort of 7-8 years anyway. Has been associated with a run of milder winters that we've had since 2013, 2014, generally milder winters anyway, since 2013, 2014, with a ridge tending to be sitting around here and sending the jet stream on a northwest southeast trajectory across the United States, bringing cold air into North America, but blowing up the jet stream around here and producing cyclogenesis, low pressure into the Atlantic. So be keeping a close eye to see whether there's any sign of a cool down up here. If you want a cold winter, you'll be looking for things to start going colder, I think, up there over the next 3 months. And then, of course, we're looking at the North Atlantic, so we've still got quite a lot of warmer than average sea surface temperature is in the tropical Atlantic. It's very warm now to the south of Greenland as well. In fact, the whole of the Atlantic Ocean just looks generally really quite warm, and it looks like this is the warmest Atlantic we've had for quite some time. But how long is it since the Atlantic was this warm? We will be attempting to verify that. But it will be quite difficult, of course, making comparisons, because this is a new version at NOAA. It's a new version of sea surface temperature anomalies, so we're going to have to use this and then compare back to the old version that we know so well. So it will make it a little bit tricky, actually, to make these comparisons, but we'll endeavour to do it. And then for this season of updates, this is a question that a lot of you have had: will we start looking at the Indian Ocean? Will we look at the IOD, the Indian Ocean Dipole? And I can tell you now that yes, we will be looking at the IOD through this season of winter update. So we'll be keeping a close eye on the sea surface temperature anomalies in the Indian Ocean, seeing what they're doing. Last year we had a very positive Indian Ocean dipole, and it was partly, I think, people thought it's partly responsible for the very mild winter we had last winter and the polar vortex on steroids. This year we've got a negative IOD. So we'll be attempting to answer the question of what is, what does the IOD do in terms of Northern European winter weather. And yeah, so more about that coming up in the next few weeks. Anyway, a lot of people have been asking where we would include the IOD in this season winter updates, and we are going to keep a close eye on those sea surface temperature anomalies in the Indian Ocean. Okay, where to next? So we go here. So this is kind of related to sea surface temperature anomalies. We will, of course, be keeping a close eye on the 2020 Atlantic hurricane season. We always do that. We think there's an association between having an active hurricane season and the chance of northern blocking later on in winter. More about that. We'll explain why later in the winter update. So far this season, it has been a very active season. So far we've had 14 depressions and 13 tropical storms. Can you believe? We're only recording this on the 26th of August. 4 hurricanes and 1 major category 3 or above hurricane. So it's been a pretty big season so far. Still got September and October to go. We shall be keeping a very, very close eye on the scores on the doors with this hurricane season. So of course, as always, we'll be keeping a very close eye on solar activity. So, yes, we are just, we think, pulling out of solar minimum and beginning solar cycle number 25. So, we'll be monitoring sunspot activity, solar activity, and we'll be attempting to answer the question of what our winters are most favoured to do when you're at the beginning of a new solar cycle. Our good friend James Atquill, as ever, will keep us updated with GavsWeatherVids solar activity tracker, and so will our good friend Richard Traw as well be keeping us updated with all of the data for this season's winter updates in terms of solar. We'll be monitoring the QBO. The QBO is a very, very, very complicated puzzle at the moment. We should be well into an easterly QBO. In fact, we should probably be around at the peak of the easterly QBO over the next couple of months. This blue-green area should have descended down through the atmosphere from the stratosphere to the top. Should have descended down. But it didn't. It stayed stuck up here in the stratosphere and lower down below the troposphere. It never truly got into the tropospheric level, and the westerly QBO has actually strengthened a little bit over the past few months. So are we going to see the westerly QBO taking off? This is the last phase of the proper phase of westerly QBO, of course. Will we see the westerly QBO taking off for winter 2020-21, or will we actually see the easterly QBO coming back up here? It looks like the easterly QBO could be starting to strengthen a little bit at the very top of the stratosphere. So will we see the easterly QBO returning? Will we have the return of the easterly QBO through this season and through to winter 2020-21? We shall be monitoring the QBO week by week, and we shall see, of course. we're going to keep a very close eye on zonal winds in terms of the Arctic and the North Pole. So, of course, last winter we had the polar vortex of doom, and that was associated with a very, very strong zonal wind at 10 HPA in the stratosphere. You can see that very often through last winter, the zonal wind was at record-breaking levels. It really was the polar vortex of doom. This is from weatheriscool.com, and this season we're just here, so with our zonal wind right now, we're very close to average. But what is CFSV2? Actually, we're just there. We're very close to average, but what is CFSV2 going to be forecasting for the zonal winds as we go on, through September, through October, through November, and then into December and January and February? What will these blue-coloured lines be doing? At the moment, that's indicating a rather weaker than average zonal wind through the autumn anyway, but we should keep a close eye on the zonal winds, and of course we will keep a close eye on the Arctic and North Atlantic oscillation as well. Will we see the AO staying as it is right now, neutral to negative, or will we see it taking off into positive again? If it goes off into positive, does that mean we're going to have another mild winter with another polar vortex of doom? Or will we see the NAO going negative or staying neutral or going positive? We'll keep a very, very close eye on what the AO and the NAO are doing over the next few months. And of course, as ever, an old favourite, we will be keeping a close eye on Siberian snow cover. So yes, we already have one or two little smatterings of snow here across the far eastern part of Siberia, but over the next few weeks and months, all of this area, this entire area, is going to get filled up with snow. How quickly will it happen? If it advances quickly across Siberia through October in particular, that may indicate that we're going to have a strengthened Siberian high. But a strengthened Siberian high does not guarantee a cold winter, because sometimes a Siberian high can go that way and give us, yes, Scandinavian highs and a cold winter, but sometimes the Siberian high can go that way, move down into Canada, and if you want a cold winter, you don't want the Siberian high going over to Canada. But we'll be keeping a very close eye on Eurasian and Siberian and Russian snow cover, I can promise you that. And of course, early on in the updates, the first 2 or 3, we shall be monitoring how much or where we get to with this year's Arctic sea ice minimum. So another big melt season, had another big melt season so far. That's where we are right now in terms of Arctic sea ice extent. The red dash line is 2012. That's the minimum, the record minimum Arctic sea ice extent year. And so we'll be answering in the next couple of weeks. It's going to bottom out through the early part of September. So we'll be answering whether this blue line goes under 2012. Does it go under 2012 and we get a new record minimum for Arctic sea ice extent? Or does it stay above 2012? That will be answered within the first couple of winter updates as well. And of course, we're going to have loads of analogues for you too. So this is how the reanalysis looks for the winter of 2019-2020. That's how it looks, with high pressure to our south and low pressure to our north. There's the polar vortex of doom. Will we have another polar vortex of doom? How many times in this season of updates will we see will we see 2019, 2020 cropping up in the analogues? If you want a cold winter, you won't want to see that analogue too often. And how often will we see the daddy? How often will we see the daddy of cold winters, 62, 63, within our analogues updates? What a tease this one is, with all of this low pressure to the south and all of this high pressure up to the north, bringing in those easterly winds. Will we see the daddy within the analogues packages this season? All will be revealed. And then attempting to quantify all of it is going to be our King of Swing, Richard Trott. Richard, for around update number 2 or 3, will have the swingometer for us. And the swingometer is going to be telling us whether winter updates are leaning towards a mild winter or whether they're leaning actually towards a colder winter. So that's something new that we're including with the winter updates this year. But Richard has been doing this on the chat at GavsWeatherVids.com over the past few years, but I thought this year we would incorporate it within the winter updates themselves. So yeah, King of Swing, Richard Trott, is going to be very much working on the swingometer to quantify how winter updates are progressing as we go through this season. And of course, let's not forget James Aquila, Analog's Guru, will be hard at work as well. And then last but not least, we're going to have all of these long-range models as well. So as well as all of these winter updates, we're going to have 3 seasonal model roundups where we get all of the long-range models together at the end of September, at the end of October, at the end of November too. We'll get them all together and see what they're all showing. And I thought we'd just finish off this little, musing, I suppose, with a quick look at some models. So this is the UK Met Glow C5. Now this doesn't quite go to winter. This is for November to January. But this is mean sail with pressure. And you can see that UK Met Office model is going for a mild westerly wind. It has high pressure to the south, low pressure to the north, and it's bringing in the winds from a westerly direction. Absolutely no sign of northern blocking with that one, certainly through the early part of winter, November, December, and January. Temperature anomaly forecast to be above average with the UK Met as well for November to January, and the rainfall anomaly is forecast to be wetter than average, or wetter than average November to January is being forecast with that one. Then we've also got CANSIP. So, yeah, this is it. This is the CANSIP's mean sail pressure anomaly for the winter 2020-21. This one looks rather zonal. High pressure is to the south, low pressure to the north, very much in line with what the UK Met is showing, I suppose. Winds are in from the west. That's another one going for a milder than average winter. Only ever so slightly milder than average, but it is a little bit above average with CANSIP for this winter. And also not as wet as UK Met. Actually, it is a little bit on the drier side, especially so to our south and west. CFS V2 looks like this. So the CFS is again going westerly also for this winter with below average heights to our north, winds coming in from the west. It's not a polar vortex of doom though, this, and there are question marks about what's going on up here. I think we've got all of this white. It looks like the jet being forced southwards. The Azores high looks like it's a little bit weaker than normal as well. So the CFS may be having a few hints there of something a little bit more interesting over this coming winter, but we shall see. Temperature anomalies for CFS-V2 winter 2020-21 generally above average through most parts of Europe, and precipitation anomalies looking quite wet, so going for a westerly and rather wet winter. JamsTech is also looking pretty mild for this winter. Temperature anomaly with JamsTech, that one also looks milder than average, and rainfall anomalies with JamsTech generally wetter than average, especially so over and to the north of the country. And then finally, the Beijing Climate Centre. So this is how the 500 millibar height anomaly looks for Beijing Climate Centre winter 2020-21, going for higher pressure to be to our north and northwest. Winds are therefore favoured to be a little bit more easterly with JamsTech. Look how this breaks down month by month. So December with Beijing Climate Centre, I should say, December is forecast to be high pressure dominated anticyclonic in December, probably dry and quite chilly. January is forecast to have high pressure out to the northwest. That could allow some colder air to come in from the east or the northeast at times probably. But February is like the Bobby Dazzler. February is really good with the high pressure. You want a cold winter with high pressure going well to the north. High pressure goes well to the north, and this trough of low pressure begins to extend in from the east, and so that could be a cold and wintry February. A February to make us shiver. with every postcard we deliver, I suppose, or something like that, wasn't it? American Pie, something like that. Anyway, there we go. So that's it. That is what's going to go into winter forecast, and it's all going to kick off from next Sunday, a week today, Sunday, the 6th of September. Now, we are going to do things a little bit different this season, I think. So instead of having one sort of 1 hour long epic every week, or hour plus epic every week, I think this year we will sort of split them into episode 1 or part 1 and part 2. So we'll do winter update part 1 on Sunday, 6th of September. Winter update part 2 will either be on Tuesday or Wednesday. I've got to decide, that's the last thing I've got to decide, when we will release part 2. Either be Tuesday or Wednesday, I think. Part 1, every week we'll look at like everything that I just talked about a moment ago in terms of sea surface temperature anomalies, hurricane activity, Siberian Eurasian snow cover, all of that stuff. All of that stuff will be in part 1. Part 2 will be specifically for the analogues. The analogues are important because it helps us to quantify what these things that we're looking at actually mean. So I know there are a few people that wonder why we include analogues, why we include so many analogues in our winter updates, but it's just, analogues are just a tool really to explain what, in a way that we can quantify what does it mean when you have a La Nina, for example. You need to look through past years when you had a La Nina, and you do it through reanalysis, to see what a La Nina could mean. And it's the same for, like, let's think of something else that we look at. So it's the same, I suppose, if you have a very active hurricane season. You've got to look back to the past to see what years that, or winters that came after very active hurricane seasons, what those winters were like. And again, you go back and you look through the reanalysis and try to pick up the trends. And so that's why we have the analogues. And so we are going to still have our analogues. Don't worry, we will not be changing anything in terms of the overall picture. The only thing that's going to change is that we will have like 2 parts. So it'll be so next week will be the first Winter 2020-21 update part 1, and then after that we'll have the first Winter 2020-21 update part 2, and part 2 will be specifically for those analogues. So just a slightly different way of doing it. It's quite a big change. I appreciate that, and we'll see how it goes. We'll see how whether people like the change or not. But it will make like each individual video shorter. So instead of having like an hour 10, an hour 15, an hour 20-minute video, we should hopefully have like 30 maybe to 40 minutes for both videos, for both parts, if you see what I mean, which should hopefully make it a little bit easier for me to record and a little bit easier for all of you to watch. But it's a big change, and we'll see how we get on with it as we progress through the season. If people don't like it, then we can always go back to having one sort of big epic that we release every week. But for the time being, we'll see how we go on. And of course, we'll probably premiere some of these updates as well. We'll probably release them as premieres on the GavsWeatherVids YouTube channel across all GavsWeatherVids platforms. I would think that next week's first Winter 2020-21 update is very likely to be premiered. So watch out for all of the news and announcements about times and so on. But it'll be on Sunday next week. Certainly the 6th of September will be the day that we release the first Winter 2020-21 update part 1. Okay, so buckle up, get ready, get set. We're all on our way now. So yeah, just 1 week to go, and then winter updates begin for another season. Can you believe it? Here we go again. I'll see you next Sunday. But don't forget the live stream at 6, and we'll talk about all of this, I'm quite sure, in the live stream at 6. Make sure you check out the autumn forecast as well. And also the final GavsWeatherVids Sunny Roundup of the year has been released, so let's not forget that as well. And I'll see you next Sunday, though, for the beginning of our winter updates. Bye for now.